This is the Breakfast Leadership Podcast. Boundaries or burnout, you make the choice. Here's your host, Michael Levitt.
Welcome back. I've got Justin Breen on the line. Justin, how are you?
It's another beautiful day, man. How are you doing?
I am awesome. And yes, it's a beautiful day. It's actually sunny where I'm at in Toronto, which is an extreme rarity this time of year. So it's awesome to actually see real vitamin D for once. So you've got a great backstory and, in PR, media, press, and you've got a new book coming out. We'll talk about that in a minute. But ideally, I want to find out, a little bit about your background, what interested you in getting into PR and media, and why did you choose that as a vocation?
Well, I appreciate you asking that. It's great to be on the show. So I was a journalist for 20 years and created my entire business model based on how PR firms annoyed me for 20 years. So that's why it's been successful. My PR firm BrEpic creates all these really cool stories similar to what I did as a journalist. It becomes a link on the client's website. And then I take that link and market it to media all over the world. And if media is interested, I put them in touch with the client contact moving forward. So the beauty of it is the company works with any type of business, any business size, any location, any vertical. It doesn't matter. The key is that the people my firm works with, they're all visionaries and leaders of exceptional businesses, not nickel and dime type things. It's real go-getters, people that are changing the world. And so it's really been fun to just find this unique giant network of awesome people everywhere and genuinely help them with really meaningful introductions.
Yeah, I see all of your content on LinkedIn, and it's amazing, the people that are working with you on this and the coverage that they're getting, and not just, specific to Chicago. It's not like we're going to be on WGN, but you're also on the Today Show, and people
Mm-hmm.
are on Fox stations all across the globe, and it's amazing. And the beautiful thing about this is these stories are desperately needed to be told and heard, and the expertise that the people that work with you have. But oftentimes there's this roadblock, and they try to do it themselves, and they don't understand the industry. They don't understand how to make the right pitch. They don't understand who to talk to. They just figure, okay, I'm just going to throw it on social media and somebody will see it. And I tell people, and I use this example for Twitter, although all social media is more like this anymore, is it's like looking at a river and you're trying to spot that particular fish. Well, you might see it, you might not, because it's constantly flowing. So you're going to miss out on a lot of these things. So targeted, direct connections with the right media folks at the right time is a crucial thing. And oftentimes people miss that.
I mean, you're 100% correct. People and businesses, they hire my firm because, two main reasons. One, I actually know what a story is that media will care about. But to your point, I have the context. I'm not going to burn my media contacts by sending them a traditional, stupid, really poorly written press release that's useless to them. I'm only going to take up their valuable time with something that is worth their valuable time. And so the clients I work with, they just understand that. They're visionary type people, go-getters. They look at things as investments, not costs. People that look at things as costs and not investments, they're almost never my clients because they don't understand how my brain works in terms of, everything for me is an investment. I don't look at things as costs anymore. And every time I've invested in myself and my business, it's paid off tenfold. So the only folks I work with are the ones that understand that, because they've built these incredible businesses because they've invested in themselves heavily and they understand the value of that and have seen the results.
It's a big mind shift for people.
Yep.
And a lot of people who listen to my show are solopreneurs, new businesses, small businesses, and they think that their stuff is great, and it may or may not be. It really depends on how they're presenting it and what they have. But I agree. We all know that the media, and when you were on the other side of the fence and, in newspapers, and you would get, constant submissions for things. I'm like, I can't run this because my readers aren't going to look at it. And in a newspaper, whether it's online or in print, there's only so much space of what you can print, and it needs to be something that is A, timely, B, something that people would be interested in learning about, because otherwise it's just noise, and people aren't going to buy into it, and it actually impacts your entity as well, because you
Yep.
mentioned you've got a ton of media contacts that you've built over the years, and those are relationships that you've nurtured. So now and I know this for a fact, when one of those media agencies, doesn't matter who they are, gets a note from you, they know it's going to be rock solid, it's going to be impactful, and they're going to actually take the time and go, okay, what did Justin send me today? And that's something you don't want to take advantage of, and you have to protect it, for your agency, and obviously for, the credibility of the people that you're serving as well.
Yep. So there's a couple things to dovetail from those comments. One, people, especially business owners, really anyone in general, they don't understand what a good story is for the most part. So the easiest way to explain it is, for the most part, nobody cares what you do, but they care about who you are. But if they care about who you are, they will care about what you do. So that's the biggest misconception, is like, you can have a great business or whatever, but for the most part, nobody cares. Like, it's just not that big of a deal unless it's something really exceptional. But if you give them a reason to care about you, they will care about what you do, by blending that into the story. And I think the other thing is like, a lot of folks, they send out these press releases that are, again, useless to journalists. And not only does it annoy journalists, but to your point earlier, it actually, in my opinion, because I've had to deal with this, it damages the brand, the brand that is sending it, because you're like, why are you wasting my time with this? And the first impression that you get is like, oh, we're sending this dumb press release about this company that hired somebody about a job that nobody cares about. It's just not, it's just not a good way of doing things. And again, I dealt with this for 20 years as a journalist, and just imagine being annoyed hundreds of times, 5 days a week for 2 decades. And so that's why I created this model, because this is what I would have wanted if I was a journalist. So everybody wins with what my firm does. The client wins, the journalist wins, and I win as well.
And that expertise comes through as well when you're helping your clients, because yes, they've got a great story, or they're a great person, and what you said, who they are is important, and in flushing that out in such a way where it'll resonate with the media, that they'll want to run the story. And I'm sure that there are situations where a client will come to you and say, well, I want to be on this show, for example. and you'll look at the story, you'll get to know them, you'll say, they never run that. That's going to be such a hard left for them. That, using a Chicago joke, that's like waking up, one morning, and you've been a lifelong Cubs fan, and all of a sudden you're down at the South Side. That just doesn't happen. Okay, for people that are unfamiliar with Chicago, that is a rare situation where you would switch alliances. It just normally doesn't happen. But it'd be the same thing where you're trying to push something to the Today Show, for example. And it's like, the Today Show doesn't run these types of content. You're not going to be on there. But it would work well if you were on Fox Business or other agencies or even local media. So you're going to get more traction and more response from it. Because I think ultimately, and I know this too with a lot of people that I deal with, you have to ask them, okay, what's the outcome do you want from this particular campaign? Okay, you want to be in the press, you want people to pick up your story. What do you want from that? Do you just want to be on TV? Well, that okay. Well, you just go look for news scenes, and you can photo bomb or video bomb behind the reporter if you want. There, you're on TV. It's going to give you the same result. You got to have some type of outcome in mind with what you want this campaign to do. So do you run into a lot of people initially like that don't really have an understanding of what they want out of their campaigns?
So when I started the business, I did. But what my business really has become, like I have a PR firm, but really what it's become is this giant incubator of super high level people introducing each other for mutual gain. So when you get to people at that level, they pretty much understand why they're working with firms like mine, because um, it's not about a cost. It's an investment to get their names out there to increase their validity and credibility when people search them and they're in the New York Times or in Crain's Chicago or in Forbes and things like that. So it's not like an ego thing. It's more of just like they understand that these articles and news stories and podcast interviews and all that kind of stuff will help their businesses and help them, again, establish validity and credibility. So, we talked about this book I wrote. That's been the number one most interesting thing I discovered since I wrote the book. It's basically like what my company really is that like genuinely helping people. And I'm talking like tens of thousands of very high level people in my network. And then when you help people, just great things come back to you. And it's just fun to make all these introductions for incredible people on a constant basis.
Yeah, I've been introduced, ironically, through you to Christy Jorfald,
Of
and
course. There you go.
so there, there's, hi Christy, how you doing? So that's a situation where it's the amazing connections and doing it from a place of you hear a story and you say, okay, and this I do this too. Is someone will mention something to me and they're looking for something or they're having a challenge or that. And in my network, somehow I keep it in my head, and of course, my CRM and every other thing that I have. But I keep track of things like that because I know, you know what, there's somebody that you should talk to.
Mm-hmm.
And I introduce them there. I'm not looking for anything out of it other than to help that person address a situation that they have. And there's just a natural human element to it where oftentimes those people will say, hey, I thought of you about this and here's somebody you should meet. And it has this nice flow to it. And sometimes it can happen, within a few months. I've had a
Yep.
situation where somebody reached out to me that I helped out, I think it was 7 years ago. And out of the blue, I get a message from them and they said, there's somebody you need to talk to. I'm like, oh, great. Oh, awesome. Thank you for that introduction. So it's something that it continues to go. And it's a wonderful way to do business and live your life, is just, connecting with people that are like-minded, that are out there making the dent in the universe and really being impactful, because collectively, the impact that we can make is amazing. So let's jump into this book. So, obviously you've got a ton of experience and things like that. What prompted you to write this book?
So I would say 80 to 90% of my day is meeting with incredibly high level entrepreneurs and business owners and CEOs and just listening to them. And when I hear something that's super interesting, I just kind of implement it into my business. So my company is still less than 3 years old, and it's already achieved beyond my wildest dreams. But so what this originally was a social media post of the 30 things that I've learned in my company BrEpic's first 30 months. And what happened was I posted it, and I've got about 40,000 followers on social media, and people just kept saying, you have to write a book on this. You have to write a book on this. These are things that can help people and change their lives. People were printing out the list and bringing it to meetings. And so I'm like, oh, how my brain works now is enough people like tell me to do something like that, I just do it. So late November, signed with one of the top micro publishers in the United States. Her name's Rebecca Greider. She's out in California. It's unbelievable. I sent her like 15 people, and several of them have signed with her already. She's incredible. So signed with her late November, wrote the book in 43 days, which I know is unusual, but each of those 30 lessons is a chapter. There's a prologue. The person who is doing the foreword is Chris Voss, who wrote Never Split the Difference. It's one of the top business books in the last 10, 20 years. And so it comes out May 19th on Amazon. The website is brepicbusiness.com if you want to go there and sign up to be on the email list, BrEpicBusiness.com, but then it comes out soft cover June and July. So it's like, it's basically a summation of what I've learned in less than 3 years of like, I only work with amazing people. I make as much money as I want to. I see my family all the time. My company is growing around the world. And it's the way I think life can and should be if you apply these principles to it.
I love your approach on how you've done this because one, you heard and listened to people and you realized, okay, yeah, there's a book here. So let's do that. And you've designed a business, and in 3 years is for this type of growth is rare. You know that.
Yep.
But if you apply things the right way and you have the principles and the boundaries around how you're going to do it, the success is sustained. Because I see too many times people will just run this sprint and they'll get successful and they do quite well, but they're so tired because they haven't balanced that with their personal life, the things they'd like to do, going to the ball game or spending time with their family. It's crucial, and everybody thinks, well, that'll take a back seat. And I say to people, I've got 3 kids, and this year they turn 21, 18, and 17.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm trying to figure out where the last 20 years have gone. And like, what in the world has happened? Now, I've been with them, I've spent time with them, and have done a lot of great things, but it's a blank. And it all boils down to priorities. And you've prioritized one, let's get this content out there and do it in a way that I can still enjoy my life, make the money that I want to make, do the things that I want to do. And you niche down and you say, this is who I'm going to work with. Because again, a lot of times new business owners and entrepreneurs will say, whoever calls, I'll work with them. And that fear of missing out is costly. Okay. That's not the investment you want to make. You want to invest and spend time with the people that you can help and will actually follow your advice. A real quick side story. I worked in healthcare for about 12 years and in primary care, basically, as a director for multiple clinics and whatnot. And the thing that frustrated me is, of all the thousands and thousands of people that our clinic served, maybe 2 out of 10 would actually follow the advice from the physician or the medical provider to do something. That's not a great percentage, and frustrating, because you're like, okay, I've got 10 people that come to me and only 2 are actually going to listen to me. And that drains you. And in a business life, you're giving guidance and you're saying, okay, here's what we need to talk about to the media. This is what you need to do. This is how you should answer questions. Be prepared. So not only you're representing BrEpic, you're representing yourself, your business, your clients, everybody else. So you want to do it right. And if only 2 out of 10 would actually listen to you, that's not going to bode well for your business. So kudos to you for being really, really specific on who you want to work with, because it makes a world of difference, and it actually it solidifies the product and services that you're offering in your business and in this book. And I can't wait to get this book, because I know that there's an absolute ton of information in there that'll be beneficial to me, and obviously I'll share the heck out of it with my audience as well.
I appreciate that. And I mean, literally there's tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of dollars worth of advice in this book. And it's kind of funny saying that, but like, so here's how the one thing is that it's true. And then 2, it's like, so my clients are, how do I describe this? So me personally, if I go into a room of 20 people randomly, or even if they're business owners, I'll start talking like this, and 18 of them will look at me like I'm either completely insane or an alien. And I don't necessarily care about those people, because they'll never be in my network. They'll never be clients. They're not my people. But there are 1 to 2 people in that room that are smiling ear to ear. They're super pumped. And those are the people I target. Those are the visionaries. Those are the ones with big dreams, but actually achieving them. And so that's who all my clients are. And I'm literally constantly meeting with people like that. Recently, without giving his name, I was at the former CEO and president of a $7 billion company. I was at his house on the Lake Michigan lakefront, beautiful mansion. And he and I were just sitting there talking about life and business. And, I told him what I was doing, and he serves on like 30 very high level major boards. And he's like, oh yeah, this would be a good connection for you. So he called the CEO of the company, which is based in Toronto. And then I talked to the CEO for 5 minutes, and now I've got another call scheduled with him about, using what my company does to help his company grow. So that's really what it's about. It's about real relationships, real networking, introductions that are not nonsense, not a waste of people's time. And then actually caring about people. So when you sit down, to your point, listen to people, really care about them, actually hear what they say, and then actually implement it into your own company when it applies to you and you think it'll apply to you, it changes everything. And being intentional, I recently rebranded my site that it's called, it's BrEpic, but it's premium PR exclusively for visionaries and exceptional businesses. So I'm very intentional about those are the only people I want to work with and only businesses I want to work with, because otherwise it's a waste of my time. And frankly, it's a waste of their time too, because they don't have the dreams and thinking big ideas that I have. So when you do that, it really changes everything. It eliminates all the noise, and you only focus on the people and businesses that you want to work with.
And what that does is it narrows things down to the point where the people that you're working with are getting the best version of you.
That's correct.
And you're not the retail store that sells everything. I'm not mentioning their name because they're not a sponsor, and why should I give them any street cred? But you know which one they are. They sell everything, and it's like, okay, great. But then there are those establishments that are very specific in what they offer, and they have top-notch quality stuff. And it's the same thing with people that work with top-notch people.
Yeah.
It's because they are top-notch people, and working with top-notch people makes you, as somebody that's in business, better, because everybody learns from each other. And when they take that opportunity to listen and learn, 6 months from now, you're going to be better in your business than you are right now.
Yes. No doubt.
Because of the people you're working with and listening and observations and going, wow, this is a new way. And what that does is it makes your product even better for the people that work with you. And the media connections in this book. And yeah, like I said, this book is going to be absolutely amazing and change lives. And I agree with you. I'm guessing there's, tens of millions of dollars worth of advice in this. And, it's, hopefully you make that and then some from the book. And I know you will, and from a variety of different areas, just because of the content that's in here. So, Justin, I've appreciated our conversation today. And like I said, I've been a big time fan for a bit and love the work you're doing. So where can people find out more about you and this awesome work you're doing?
Sure. So again, appreciate you asking that. It's been great to be on the show. My firm's main site is BrEpicLLC.com. That's B as in boy, R-E, P as in pony, I-C as in cobra, LLC.com, BrEpicLLC.com. You can find all the book information as well there, and just see about what my firm's doing and all these amazing global visionaries that I work with.
That's awesome. And I'll definitely have that in the show notes. So Justin, continued success to you, and thanks for all that you do.
Thanks so much.
Hey, it's Michael again. Thank you for listening to the podcast. I really appreciate it. If you're like many people, you're dealing with some significant stress and possibly approaching burnout. I know how you feel. In 2009, my burnout led to a year of worst-case scenarios. I do not want that to happen to you. If you go to breakfastleadership.com, you can register for a free webinar on burnout prevention, as well as get a free checklist to have successful mornings. Start off each day the right way. Again, that's at breakfastleadership.com. Also, since you are a loyal podcast listener, I'm asking you to like, rate, and review my podcast on iTunes. I look at all the reviews and appreciate your comments, and it helps other potential listeners discover the content I have on the show. I appreciate you, and thanks again for listening.